Last time, I told you how in China, a country where almost no one eats cheese, a company still built an empire from it. Not by selling brie or camembert, but by selling something that looked like a lollipop, tasted like a dessert, and whispered, "Oh, this is good for your kid." Sales exploded by 300%. But what happened next is not that tasty. The illusion of trust. If your engine runs on ads, not actual product value, then no matter how hard you rev it, you're gonna still not building trust. Milground positioned its cheese sticks as a healthy choice for kids. But the moment it truly went viral wasn't a campaign. It was a scandal. On May 2023, they launched a wildly popular male celebrity as their new ambassador. Instead of applause, they trended for all the wrong reasons. The keyword, trans fats. Parents had started reading the labels, and they found edible oil-based products, often a code for cheap industrial trans fats. One insider put it simply, it's 4 times more efficient than cream. Cheap, stable, great for snacks. The only problem? Trans fats have been banned in the US since 2015. Nutritionists call them time-delayed health bombs. And the kicker? Just weeks earlier, Milground's founder Chai Xiu stood on the stage and declared, "To build a brand, we have to build a product. Quality is the foundation." The audience remembered that line. Just not the way she'd hoped, and it gets worse. Most people didn't even realize these were not real cheese sticks. They were reconstituted cheese, scraps of cheese, mixed with water, cream, thickeners, flavorings, and colorants. Under China's old food law, as long as product had 15% cheese, it could legally call themselves a cheese stick. Yeah, only 15%. How about the other 85%? Basically anything else. It wasn't until October 2023 that the standard had raised to 50%. To many people, that didn't feel like a technical update. It felt like a public rebuke. The price of wanting to win. If you look back at Milground's rise, one thing stands out. It was a company obsessed with winning. Its founder, Chai Xiu, a female entrepreneur, had bounced between food distribution, real estate, and liquid milk, before finally betting everything on a category that barely existed in China, cheese snacks. She once declared publicly, "Only by being number one can you get resources, pricing power, and customer trust." That wasn't just business logic. That was a personal philosophy. So in 2018, Milground shifted away from selling cheese to restaurants and chains that used to supply brands like Domino's, and went all in, customer retail. Their goal was sharp and simple. Use one product, cheese sticks, to crack open the wallets of Chinese parents. And the way they did it? Let's just say it wasn't subtle. Backed by massive advertising, before customers had time to realize that it wasn't exactly a healthy snack, Milground deliberately priced its cheese sticks as twice the price of competitors. Why? Because to them, a higher price signals higher quality. Even when competitors paled in, they refused to lower prices. Their official reason? They said, "As the market leader, we can't afford price wars. It would hurt our distributors." And they meant it. This wasn't just about premium positioning. It was about keeping channel partners fat and happy. More margin meant more motivation to sell. It was classic channel-led volume pushing. You don't feed the contributors, they don't feed your sales. But here is the problem. This model looks profitable until it's not. If your entire engine relies on ads, pulling demand, and channels pushing product, what happens when one of those fails? In 2021, Milkground made less than 5 billion RMB in revenue, but it spent 1.16 billion RMB, almost a quarter of that, on marketing alone. Net profit margin under 4%. Yes, they were still number one, but it took a bloodbath to get here. They didn't fail to win. They just won too bravely. No farms, no foundation. At first glance, Milkground looks like a classic underdog story, but under the hood, different story. Milkground didn't own a single dairy farm, no cows, no upstream milk supply. It wasn't a producer, it was a processor, one that relies on third-party milk, outsourced distribution, and marketing-driven trust. In other words, milk prices go up, profit margins drop, ads stop playing, parents stop buying, cheaper rivals show up, distributors jump ship. Between 2021 to 2022, their inventory turnover days jumped from 52 to 70. Revenue kept growing, but profits kept shrinking. By then, net margin had dipped below 4%. You might have called them a kid product machine, but the truth is they got lucky with a risky category. Children's snacks. They are trendy, seasonal, and most importantly, short-lived. Kids grown up, tastes change. That's it. This wasn't a demand problem. It was a product life cycle problem. Milkground wanted to lead the market, but they never built real leadership needs, a base. So when their 2020 explosion came, it wasn't takeoff. It was overheat. The spotlight, not a launch pad, a slow roast. And the big players, they saw it coming. That same year, Mengniu, one of China's dairy giants, stepped in. But instead of launching a competing brand, they took a shortcut. They just bought it. Started with 5%, then more. Now over 36%, the largest shareholder. Why? One brand strategist said it best. Mengniu didn't buy the product. They bought the mind share. And Milkground, out of options, out of margin, had to say yes. At first, it looked like a lifeline. Mengniu even planned to inject its whole cheese division into Milkground. But that deal stalled. Instead, Mengniu quietly started buying back its subsidiaries, pulling away piece by piece. Because in business, acquisition isn't the end. It's just the first line on someone else's PowerPoint. And if all you are is a moment on a trend curve, then once that moment ends, you become a slide on someone else's exit deck. By this point, Milkground had been acquired, criticized, and outpaced. But they still had one shot. Stop selling the image of cheese. Start making real cheese. But they didn't. As we all know, they have already spent more than billions RMB on ads. Meanwhile, their entire R&D team, just 76 people, less than 2.5% of staff, and nearly 40% didn't even have a college degree. While rivals launched new formats, functional cheeses, women's health snacks, adult breakfasts, Milkground made one big move. They got a hotter celebrity. When in doubt, get a prettier poster. This wasn't brand building, it was illusion management. And illusions by definition, don't last. So let's recap. They used ads to build trust, but never planned to earn it. They used price to claim the crown, but couldn't defend the throne. They caught the wave, but never grew roots. It sounds like a fall from grace, but really, it's a template. Because this isn't just a milk run story. It's happening in every market, everywhere. Startups that scale too fast. They sell fantasy over product. They rent trust. They wonder why it doesn't stay. Here, the hard truth. A brand barely dies because a product failed. It dies because it assumed, I will never die.